Seth Rollins returns and hunts Bron Breakker backstage on Raw. Absolute chaos erupts. Monday Night Raw opens with tension already hanging in the air. Not the normal kind, not the crowd chanting, fireworks popping energy. This is heavier, uneasy, the kind of atmosphere where everyone knows something bad is about to happen, they just don't know when. Cameras cut backstage. Bron Breakker is pacing, not warming up, not stretching, pacing. His fists are taped, his jaw clenched so tight it looks like his teeth might crack. Every few seconds, he stops and stares at his reflection in a production truck mirror. The same look he's worn for weeks now, the look of a man who won battles but woke up something far worse. Seth Rollins, a name Bron hasn't heard in person since that night. The night Bron Breakker ran through Raw like a wrecking ball. The night Seth Rollins was laid out, clutching his ribs, screaming in pain as officials swarmed him. The night everyone assumed Rollins would be gone for months. The night Bron Breakker proved he was the future. But the future has consequences. Bron exhales sharply and turns to leave the hallway. Crash! A lighting crate explodes into the wall inches from his head. Bron spins. And nothing's there. No attacker. No cameraman. Just chaos. Bron smirks. Cute, he mutters. You wanna play games? He steps forward. Bam! A steel chair cracks across his spine. The sound echoes through the corridor like a gunshot. Bron stumbles forward, barely keeping his feet. The chair drops to the floor. Heavy boots step into frame. Black boots. Burnt red pants. The crowd watching at home loses their minds as the camera tilts up. Seth, freakin', Rollins. No music. No entrance. No warning. Just violence. Rollins' eyes are wild, not laughing, not theatrical. Focused. Cold. Personal. Bron turns and swings. Rollins ducks and drills him with a forearm to the jaw. Bron fires back with a right hand that nearly takes Rollins' head off. Seth staggers but laughs as blood starts trickling from his lip. That's it, Seth yells. That's the guy they warned me about. Bron charges. Seth drops and yanks Bron into a steel door, smashing his shoulder. Bron roars in pain but responds instantly, lifting Seth and slamming him spine first onto a production table. Monitors scatter. Cables snap. Officials scream for security. Neither man listens. Bron grabs Seth by the throat. You should have stayed home, Bron growls. Seth's smile disappears. Oh, kid, Seth whispers. Home is where the nightmares are. Seth rakes Bron's eyes and grabs a nearby wrench, swinging it into Bron's ribs. The same ribs. The same spot. Bron collapses to one knee. Seth doesn't stop. Again, again, again. Each shot more desperate, more furious. Security finally rushes in, pulling Seth back. It takes 6 people to restrain him, and even then he's clawing, screaming, trying to get free. Bron pulls himself up using a crate, coughing violently. Their eyes lock, and for a moment, everything freezes. Seth leans forward, veins bulging in his neck. You think you took my place? Seth shouts. You think you ended me? Bron wipes blood from his mouth and laughs. I exposed you. That's all he says. That's all it takes. Seth breaks free. He launches himself at Bron, tackling him through a rolling equipment case. The two disappear out of frame as the camera shakes violently. When the feed stabilizes, they're brawling into a restricted area. Red lights flash. Crew members scatter. Seth grabs Bron by the head and slams it into a concrete pillar. You don't get to rewrite my story. Seth screams. Bron responds by hoisting Seth and power slamming him onto the floor, the impact echoing through the building. Bron stands over Seth, chest heaving. Officials beg him to stop. Bron looks down, then backs away. Send him back to the hospital, Bron says calmly. Again, Bron turns to leave. Bad idea. Seth sits up. That alone sends shockwaves through the arena. Seth rises slowly, almost possessed. Bron turns. Curb stomp. Right on the concrete. The sound is sickening. Bron's body goes limp. Officials swarm as Seth collapses to his knees beside him, breathing hard, staring at what he's done. Medical personnel rush in. Seth stands up, wipes blood from his mouth, and looks directly into the camera. I'm not done, he says quietly. Fade to black. Hash part 2 approximately equals 2,000 words. Raw returns from commercial. The building is buzzing. Commentary is in full panic mode, replaying the footage over and over again. Seth Rollins' return wasn't announced. It wasn't rumored. It wasn't teased. It erupted. The camera cuts backstage where Bron Breakker is being loaded onto a stretcher. His eyes are open, but glassy. His jaw clenched. He tries to sit up. Doctors push him back down. Seth Rollins watches from the shadows. Security surrounds him, but he doesn't resist this time. He doesn't fight, he just stares, like a predator watching wounded prey get dragged away. Adam Pearce storms into frame, furious. "You're done for the night." Pearce yells. "You hear me?" Seth finally looks at him. "No," Seth replies calmly. "I'm just getting started." Pearce orders Seth escorted out of the building. As Seth walks down the hallway, the crowd roars. He soaks it in for half a second, then his face hardens again. Later in the night, cameras catch Bron Breakker being taken to a local medical facility. Everyone assumes it's over. It isn't. The final hour of Raw begins. A shaky camera feed suddenly appears on the Tron parking garage. Security footage. Bron Breakker is being helped into an SUV. The crowd murmurs. Then, a figure steps into frame. Hood up, chair in hand. The realization hits before the impact. Seth Rollins. He swings the chair into the car door, denting it inward. Bron spills out onto the concrete as Seth drags him free. Officials scream. Seth throws Bron into the side of the vehicle and leans close. "You don't get carried out," Seth whispers. "You walk out, or you crawl." Bron, barely conscious, still manages to grab Seth's leg and yank him down. The two fight on the concrete, exhausted, bloody, fueled by hatred. Bron headbutts Seth. Seth responds with a knee strike that drops Bron again. Seth climbs onto the hood of the car. The crowd watching live is in disbelief. Seth stands tall, then leaps. Curb stomp on the hood. Bron collapses. Security finally floods the garage, pulling Seth away as he laughs hysterically, hair soaked in sweat and blood. As Seth is dragged backward, he screams one final line. "You wanted the future. This is it." The screen cuts back to the arena. Silence. Commentary doesn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Then, "This has changed everything." Raw goes off the air with one final image. Seth Rollins being restrained, eyes burning with purpose. Bron Breakker motionless. A war has begun. The screen fades back in. Not raw graphics. Not commentary. A phone video. Shaky. Vertical. Clearly unauthorized. It's Seth Rollins. Still being held by security in the parking garage. Still laughing. Still dangerous. He jerks forward suddenly, head snapping toward the camera. "You think this ends when the cameras shut off?" Seth shouts. "This is when it starts." Security tightens their grip. Seth doesn't fight anymore. He doesn't need to, because the damage is already done. The next week, Raw opens with an empty ring. No pyro. No music. Adam Pearce walks out slowly, microphone in hand, looking like a man who hasn't slept in days. The crowd chants Seth's name anyway. Pearce pauses, lets it wash over him, then speaks. "Last week, we crossed a line." Boos. Cheers. Mixed chaos. Bron Breakker is not medically cleared. He suffered internal injuries, a concussion, and damage to his ribs. The crowd reacts. Pearce exhales. And Seth Rollins is suspended indefinitely. The cheers turn nuclear. Pearce raises his voice. "This isn't a storyline. This isn't entertainment. This was assault." Suddenly, the lights flicker. Pearce freezes. The crowd erupts. A familiar laugh echoes through the arena. Low, controlled, insane. Seth Rollins appears on the stage. Street clothes. No music. Hood down. Security floods the ramp instantly, forming a wall between him and the ring. Pearce backs up. "You are not supposed to be here," Pearce says sharply. Seth tilts his head. "I never left." The crowd explodes. Seth steps closer, hands raised, calm. "I didn't come to fight tonight," he says. "I came to talk." Pearce scoffs. "You've said enough." "No," Seth snaps back, eyes suddenly dark. "Bron Breakker said enough when he tried to erase me." The crowd quiets. Seth points to the ring. "You put him in my house. You told him this was his era. You handed him the keys and told him legends were optional." Seth steps closer to the barricade. "So he did what you taught him." Pearce swallows. "And now," Seth continues, voice rising, "you're shocked that I reminded him who built this place." Pearce shakes his head. "You nearly ended his career." Seth smiles slowly. "He tried to end mine." The tension is unbearable. Pearce straightens. "You're done, Seth. Until further notice." Bron Breakker's music hits. The arena erupts. Pearce spins around. The crowd loses control. Bron Breakker walks out. No taped ribs. No stretcher. No weakness. Just rage. His eyes lock onto Seth instantly. Security panics, shifting formation. Seth laughs. A real laugh. "There he is," Seth says softly. "The future that wouldn't stay buried." Bron grabs a microphone from a stunned stagehand. You didn't finish the job, Bron growls. The crowd roars. Seth nods. I know. Bron steps forward. And now, Bron continues, voice shaking with fury, you don't get to jump me in hallways. You don't get to hide behind suspension. Bron points at Seth. You face me like a man. Seth's smile vanishes. Security braces. Seth steps forward anyway. You want me, Seth says. You don't want a match. The crowd leans in. You want a war. Seth spreads his arms. And I already showed you how far I'm willing to go. Pierce snaps. That's enough. If either of you take one more step. Seth and Bron step forward at the same time. Security explodes into motion. They collide anyway. Fists fly. Chaos erupts. The locker room empties trying to pull them apart. Seth slams Bron into the barricade. Bron lifts Seth and launches him over the announce table. Monitors crash. The crowd is on its feet. Officials scream for backup. Finally, they're separated. Bron is dragged toward the ring. Seth toward the stage. They scream at each other across the arena. This isn't over, Seth shouts. Bron roars back. It's just beginning. Pierce stands between them, broken. You want each other, Pierce yells. Fine. The crowd explodes. At the next premium live event, no sanctions. No rules. No mercy. The building shakes. Seth wipes blood from his eyebrow and smiles. Bron cracks his neck. 2 men, 1 future. Raw fades out on their faces. Not fear, not hesitation, only violence waiting to happen.